Welcome to Conversations with Cheryl Weston. Thank you for allowing us to come into your home today. We will have our program tonight devoted to the family of Mr. Cameron Ford. I do want to make a disclosure. There will be two videos that will be played during the program. Those two videos were taken from YouTube. There are two political ads that begin before the videos begin. Want to make it very clear, Cheryl Weston or Conversations of Cheryl Weston is not supporting or is supporting either candidate. Wanted to make that clear. So, with all that said, let's begin tonight's program. Justice for Cameron Ford. Conversations with Cheryl Weston extends our condolences to the family of Mr. Cameron Ford, who was murdered on the morning of August 28, 2024, by a member of the Omaha Police Department. In consideration and respect for Mr. Ford's family, Conversations with Cheryl Weston will not show the video released by the Omaha Police Department due to the very graphic nature of the video. Mr. Ford charged out of the bedroom, and Officer Vale was unable to see his hands, Chief Schmatter said. Mr. Ford was shot in the chest through the left side from an estimated 5 feet away. Use your imagination. Take a tape measure. Measure 5 feet from point A to point B. Use your imagination. If you were awakened in your sleep, you come out of your bedroom, not necessarily charged, because if you can't see the individual, you can't see what's in his hands, how can you say that he charged out of the bedroom? But using your imagination, you come out of a master bedroom, the door, and you're shot in the left side. So is that the first part of your body that came out of the door? So he wasn't completely out of the door, but he charged in his underwear only. And if that was the case, how could you not see what was in his hands if he had anything in his hands, if he had nothing on but his shorts? Vale is a 17-year member of law enforcement, including more than 6 years with the Omaha Police Department. He has been involved in serving 122 high-risk search warrants. The search warrant that was being served on Mr. Ford was deemed to be high risk, based upon the point value system that the police department uses when they decide to use the search warrant, and what is the policy that would be used, because whether the individual was high risk or low risk. According to Chief Schmatter, Mr. Ford was high risk because with the point system, it was at 80. Vale's body-worn camera was obscured by the shield that Officer Vale was using. You have to remember when they show what it looks like is individual coming up with this shield, and therefore it's blocking and preventing from an individual behind the shield of being heard. So again, I would say my question goes back. This is high risk. What is the policy in the case? Mr. Ford was alone in the house and was a known gang member with a lengthy criminal history, including possessions of narcotics and firearms, according to the police. The search warrant was for firearms and drugs in the home. This is the exact thing that happens every single time when there is an individual who happens to be non-white, usually Black. The first thing you do, the police department attacks the character and the past history, which has nothing to do with it in this instance. This man came out of his bedroom with nothing but his shorts on, and he was killed. So the message is very simple and it's very clear. People want and are demanding justice. A community wants and is demanding justice. The message is simple and it's clear. The family wants and they deserve justice for the unjust killing of their loved one, Cameron Tavarus Ford. On September 5th, 2024, Senator McKinney's response to Douglas County Attorney's decision not to charge Officer Vale. Senator McKinney immediately sent Douglas County Attorney Don Klein found that it was immediate. He could immediately say that no charges would be filed, because the law says that if a police officer was killed in the apprehension by the police, or if it was a state attorney, if it was in Nebraska, or in a facility, a correction facility, or a prison within the penal system in Nebraska. In addition, Senator McKinney also requested a ban on the use of no-knock warrants immediately. Following Senator McKinney, Councilwoman Juanita Johnson from District 2 gave her response to the quick action of the Douglas County Attorney's decision. And in her response, she committed to engaging stakeholders to discuss and review the use of high-risk police tactics like no-knock warrants, strengthening training on the de-escalation and crisis response to prevent situations from escalating to violence, and ensuring transparency by encouraging regular updates from the law enforcement throughout the investigation. Going back to the immediate response and actions from Douglas County Attorney Donald Klein, what is it that he has through the investigation of the police department that he could make that decision so quickly? What investigation, what pictures, what videos, what information has been given to him that hasn't been given to the family or their representative for a decision to come so quickly? With all things said and done, the message is simple and it's very clear. The people want and demand justice. The community wants and is demanding justice. And most important, the message is very simple and clear. The family wants, and they deserve justice for the unjustified killing of their loved one, Cameron Tavarus Ford.
Liberal Tony Vargas. Big fat raise for him. Big fat tax bill for you.
We, the members of the Omaha NAACP, Omaha organizations, and members of the community at large, come this morning to share our condolences and deepest sympathies with the family members of Mr. Cameron Ford. We acknowledge the pain, the shock, and the sorrow you all must be feeling due to his untimely demise. We also come this morning to say we believe the death of Mr. Ford was a wrongful, senseless, unnecessary death. We acknowledge we do not know all the details of what occurred on August 28th, but we know enough to know, we know enough to believe Mr. Ford should be in custody, not dead today. Mr. Ford did not have a weapon in his hand. Therefore, his shooting was not justified and should be deemed as such. Mr. Ford was murdered. We value our police. We understand our society needs police, but we believe police, including the officer who killed Mr. Ford, must be held accountable for their actions. We must demand justice as a community for everyone and from everyone in our society. And while we have heard Officer Vale's version of what happened, we must remember, unfortunately, Mr. Ford is unavailable to share his version. This must not be another instance of injustice for an unarmed Black man. That brings me to the point that we believe the announced determination of Douglas County Attorney Don Klein saying that this shooting was legal is wrong. It's a terrible mistake. How could it be legal if Mr. Ford had no weapon with which he was threatening the officer? He did not touch the officer. How could it be legal when the officer responded in the way he did? Did he follow the mandates of his training? You can't help but hear guilt in his voice when you hear the recording. He expresses the expletive right after his gun fired. If Mr. Vale made a mistake, he should be willing to say that. Surely he had some fear as he ascended the steps inside Mr. Ford's home. That's inevitable. But there was no need to shoot. We also believe Mr. Klein's announcement was ill-timed. His statement could influence the opinion of grand jury members yet to be impaneled. As we understand it, his statement was issued prior to the investigation being completed by the Omaha Police Department. We join with Nebraska State Senator Terrell McKinney in calling this morning for a special prosecutor to investigate this killing and for a ban of no-knock warrants, which tend to end in deaths primarily of people of color. Law enforcement must not overstep its bounds in exercising its duty. Law enforcement must work for all the people. Mr. Ford, the human being who deserved better. We must have an independent investigation to see that he gets the justice that he deserves. We, the members, I voted for a $37 million increase for law enforcement because families are worried about keeping their kids safe. My wife and I are too. In Congress, I'll work across the aisle for tougher border security and to stop the flow of fentanyl into Nebraska. The Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Metropolitan Omaha wishes to express our sincere condolence with deep sympathy to the entire family of Mr. Cameron Ford during this time of bereavement. We stand today with others requesting, aside from a grand jury being convened, an independent special prosecutor be appointed to investigate the police-involved shooting death of Mr. Cameron Ford, which occurred on the morning of Wednesday, August 28th in the city of Omaha in his residence located at 6423 North 78th Avenue. The circumstances surrounding his death has raised significant concerns within our community, and we believe that a thorough and independent investigation is necessary to ensure transparency and justice. As faith leaders and citizens, we trust our legal system to provide accountability when such tragic incidents take place. In the case of Mr. Cameron Ford, the details of the encounter remain unclear, and questions regarding the use of force by law enforcement demand a closer examination by a grand jury. Despite Douglas County Attorney Don Klein's decision not to charge Officer Adam Vale in the death of Mr. Cameron Ford, we believe only by engaging the grand jury with the independent special prosecutor can we ensure that all evidence is reviewed impartially and that justice is served in accordance with the law. We understand the difficult nature of police work and respect the efforts of law enforcement officers to maintain safety in our communities. However, the loss of life coupled with a lack of sufficient evidence known or revealed to date in this case warrants careful scrutiny. Our community deserves to know whether all protocols were followed and whether the force used was both necessary and lawful. We urge you to take swift action in appointing a special prosecutor to thoroughly review all available evidence, including witness testimony, body camera footage, and any forensic findings, as well as the following: the rules of engagement of the Omaha Police Department, ID, SWAT team, officers' bells, ready finger on the trigger, etc. Officer Bell's experience with no-knock warrants, rules of engagement that determine his state of mind before entering Mr. Cameron Ford's home, e.g., implicit bias, etc. Officer Bell's line of sight to clearly see that Mr. Cameron Ford was unarmed when he came out of the master bedroom. Mr. Ford's removal of himself from the bedroom that contained an assault rifle, presenting himself in only his underwear in which a weapon could not be concealed, to make it clear that he was not a threat. The failure of Officer Vale and the SWAT team to give any command or instruction to surrender or otherwise to Mr. Cameron Ford before shooting Mr. Ford in the chest. The noticeable altered audio with pauses between announcing police search warrant, a single gunshot, and statement of shots fired. The SWAT team's ability to apprehend and take into custody Mr. Cameron Ford, who had nothing on him but his underwear. The thorough review of every officer's body camera in totality. The shooting officer, Officer Vale's immediate reactive comment of, "Oh, sugar, honey, iced tea," after using deadly force that killed Mr. Cameron Ford, assessing his imperfect following the procedure. These steps are essential to maintaining public trust
and ensuring that Mr. Cameron Ford's family and our community receives the justice and closure they deserve. We further call on Mayor Gene Stothard and Omaha Police Department Chief Todd Smotter to end the utilization of no-knock warrants in the city of Omaha.
That's right.
No-knock warrants are inherently problematic. They are dangerous to the community and to law enforcement, placing both our officers and citizens in extreme danger. As seen in the tragic death of Breonna Taylor in 2020, Mr. Cameron Ford last week, and many others. No-knock warrants violate civil liberties and the trust of the community in our Omaha Police Department. Moreover, no-knock warrants disproportionately affect people of color and further exacerbate issues of systemic racism in our justice system. Furthermore, no-knock warrants are not served death warrants to unarmed Black men by fearing for their lives police officers. Therefore, we look forward to a fair and just investigation into this tragic event. Also want to offer a positive solution that we would indeed, as a community, all agencies, Douglas County Attorney Office, the Mayor's Office, Omaha Police Department, community organizations, churches, faith-based organizations, families, individuals, etc., participate in healing-centered engagement training provided by the North Omaha Collective. Together, we will create Heal Community Learning Collective by offering new skills to improve our individual and collective health and well-being. They consist of 5 karma principles: culture, agency, relationships, meaning, and aspirations, and 4 pivots to help us shift how we think, act, work, and connect in our community together. Thank you. The Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Metropolitan Omaha
The message is simple and clear. The family wants and they deserve justice for the unjustified killing of their loved one. It's not over until it's over. Town Hall will be held on Saturday, September 28th, 2024. It is open to the public. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Conversations with Cheryl Weston. Thank you for tuning in.